I wanted to run away, but the boys held my hands tightly. No, let me go. I tried to pull away, but it was all in vain. They shouted that now I belong to them, and they belong to me forever. I recently transferred to a new closed school, one of the best in the country. I dreamed of finding friends there, but everyone in class already divided into companies. And instead of accepting me, my classmates, one by one, started making fun of my hairstyle. Yes, I have lush red hair, but this is not a reason to call names. If it wasn't for Dean, I don't know how I would have coped. We knew each other since the first grade, and he also moved to the city with his parents. We always had fun together. He even tried to hit on me once, but I firmly declared that we were friends. The same cannot be said about Pedro. When I saw him, I could barely stand on my feet. He was so mysterious, silent, and he never teased me, so I decided to admit my sympathy for him anyway. I took a quick step towards him, but in the middle of the way, Lizzie blocked my way. Anything but that. Lizzie was my roommate on campus, and she hated me. From the first day, she mocked me because I was new, and she clearly did not want to let me into the company where she was the most popular. Lizzie abruptly snatched the backpack from me and threw it behind the locker, and then she grabbed my arm and hissed angrily at me not to even go near Pedro, and then she left with him, arm in arm. I felt overwhelmed. Lizzie always ruined my life. I was sick of it. Dean cheered me up a little. He helped me get my backpack and offered to walk me home. No, Dean, I'm not up to you right now. I need Pedro. And why does that stinker Lizzie decide who I communicate with and who I don't? In the evening, I was surfing the internet in search of a reliable way to make a guy fall in love with me, when suddenly an advertisement with a recipe for a love potion appeared on the entire screen. This was my chance to attract Pedro. I wouldn't even have to flirt and try to choose the time when Lizzie was not around. I would just give you a potion and that's it. I needed to go to the store for ingredients. I spent the whole night making the potion, trying to be as quiet as possible so as to not wake Lizzie. And in the morning, everything finally came out. I immediately poured the potion into a bottle of water. I would give it to Pedro during a lesson in the pool. But when I was walking with an open bottle to Pedro, who was swimming at the side of the pool, Lizzie tripped me up. In the same second, I fell to the floor, dropping the bottle right into the pool where the whole class was swimming. Heck! And then the coach yelled at me to swim 100 meters with the others. I nodded and climbed into the pool when suddenly the boys picked me up and carried me right over the water. I tried to escape with bewilderment. The coach shouted, and the boys said that they were crazy about me. I struggled out of their hands and ran headlong into the hall. What was that? I didn't understand anything. But then, Pedro came up to me. He asked with a smile if I would go to lunch with him. I even swayed. Of course, yes. Pedro replied in an orgy of excitement that this was the highest award for him, and I was beside myself with happiness. Did the potion work? We went to lunch together. I sat down next to Pedro and was already looking forward to how nice we would spend time, when suddenly some other boys started pulling Pedro by the hand. Then more boys came up to us, and everyone wanted to sit with me. And then one of them couldn't stand it and threw the mashed potatoes in the other's face, and then it started. Everyone was throwing food at each other. I tried to stop them, but instead, I myself got in trouble. I had mashed potatoes on my head. My face was all in the salad sauce. I realized that the love potion seemed to work on everyone who was in the pool. Suddenly, the principal came to the dining room, and everyone froze. He gave us a stern look and asked who the culprit was. The boys immediately pointed at me and said dreamily, "All this for her." The principal even turned purple with anger and told me to come to school with my parents tomorrow. After that, he left. Heck! I rushed away from the dining room, but my classmates surrounded me on the stairs and showed me a portrait. It depicted a crooked-nosed, oblique girl. She was not like me at all, but one boy shouted that I was breaking his heart. For my sake, he was ready to draw a new portrait from life. I wanted to leave, but then the boys grabbed me tightly while that half-artist was drawing something. They shouted that now I belong to them and they belong to me. Forever. And then I saw Pedro. He was standing aside and immediately asked for help. But Pedro just laughed and grabbed my hands tightly. This potion had driven him crazy. And then someone shouted to the boys to let me go. And the next second, he abruptly snatched me out of their hands. Dean, holding hands. We rushed away from our classmates together. It was only in the hallway that Dean slowed down and said that he wanted to tell me something. Blushing, he blurted out that he was still in love with me. Oh no, he was bewitched too. I pushed Dean away and ran out into the street. I had to run home. But there were boys standing at the exit of the school. When they saw me, they started singing about how much they loved me. It was like they were on an island and I was the only survivor of all the girls. What nonsense! Everyone around started laughing. What a shame! When I ran home, I locked myself in my room and immediately tried to find a recipe for an antidote on the internet. But in vain. What should I do? I couldn't hide forever. And then, I heard strange rustling under the window. Slowly, I approached it and oh my god, my classmate was climbing up the pipe to me, shouting that we were made for each other. I slammed the window shut, my heart pounding. Hell, when will it end? Now I wanted just calmness and not love. At night, I saw boys in the window, and Lizzie chatted with someone on the phone all night and left at dawn. And just after she left, someone knocked. I cautiously looked through the peephole. Dean was standing there. Go away! I won't let you in. But then, Dean shouted that he was not bewitched. And no one was bewitched. This was all a joke that Lizzie organized. She saw me making a potion in the room and decided to make fun of me and put the boys up to it. Lizzie suggested that Dean participated in this, in exchange offering friendship and connections, but he refused. I snorted and opened the door, but I was still wary. It couldn't be, because Pedro was definitely bewitched. He invited me to dinner, and he held me with everyone when they painted the portrait. But then Dean looked down and sighed. Pedro was the first to support Lizzie's plan. He was the one who came up with a food prank. Pedro, how could you do that? Dean said that he was not playing, confessing his love to me. My cheeks burned. Dean, you found the time to say this. I need to deal with Lizzie. It turned out that today, she and the boys were going to complete their prank and pour paint on me to make a fool of me in front of the whole school. This infuriated me. Well, no. The next day, we were ready to take revenge. I hid near the locker room and waited until all the girls, except Lizzie, came out of there. That's when I signaled to Dean. He immediately told the boys that I was alone in the locker room. It was time to act and turned off the lights. The boys, shouting, "Accept the imprint of our love as a gift," ran there and poured paint on the girl standing there. After an angry shout, the lights turned on, and everyone saw covered with paint Lizzie. Then, I appeared from behind the hiding place and grinned. How do you like the prank? Lizzie started shouting that I would be alone forever and no one would definitely communicate with me after this. I laughed. It's better to be alone than to hang out with such rotten people as you and your gang. I left school with Dean. It finally dawned on me that none of Lizzie's company was worthy of my attention. And Dean was the only one worth trusting. In the evening, we agreed to meet again and have a heart-to-heart talk. And how I didn't notice before how honest and noble Dean was. Sometimes, in the race for something impossible, we do not notice the happiness that is always before our eyes. Did you like the video? Subscribe and like it. Support the channel. Thank you!
I ran into my sister's room. She had another heart attack and she was sitting and filing her nails. Sis, are you okay? Claire was very happy and quickly said that she had a task for me. Anything you want. I blurted out, but immediately regretted it. Claire asked me to take her place at the meeting with her fiancé. We were twins. Are you crazy? I'm not going anywhere with this spoiled jerk. Claire immediately clutched her heart and began to wail. Tonight, she had an important meeting with Bruce's father, Mr. Wayne. If all went well, Bruce would propose to Claire. And all I needed to do was to take her place while the real Claire was in the hospital. Well, no. Claire pleaded. Her treatment was very expensive and her parents were about to lose the house for debt. After marrying rich Bruce, we would have a fortune. Don't you want to help our family? Claire asked defiantly. Of course, I would do anything for the family. My sister interrupted me and began to give me instructions on how to behave. And she sent me the change. Bruce will be at our house in an hour. You should look stunning. Once again, I followed my sister's lead and got into an adventure. I hated her since I was a kid. She was always bossing me around like a senior, even though she was only born 3 minutes before me. How was I going to play Claire anyway? She was glamorous and confident. And I was clumsy plain Jane. How was I going to be able to match her buoyant boyfriend? But there was not much I could do. Now I had not to screw up and help the family. I ran home as fast as I could, and just as I was putting on my dress, Bruce's fancy car appeared under the windows. I was afraid that he would quickly understand everything, but Bruce didn't seem to notice and just kept hugging me. I can't stand him. He gave me instructions on how to behave the whole drive. Thank you. I've already been told everything. Shut up already. When we arrived at the mansion, Mr. Wayne was standing at the entrance, swearing horribly at the gardener. Yes, I would definitely have a hard time. I exhaled and forced a smile. I should be clear. I was moving towards Mr. Wayne when I suddenly tripped over a statue in the garden. I fell to the ground, and Mr. Wayne immediately rushed to the statue. Damn, its arm fell off. While Bruce helped me up, his father scolded me. How could I be so clumsy and inattentive? Bruce introduced me to his father and tried to lighten the situation by making an awkward joke that I might be clumsy, but I was a living person, not a statue. Bruce's father smiled tightly and, trying to change the subject, asked me how yesterday's event had gone. What was he talking about? Claire hadn't told me anything. I panicked and blurted out the first thing that came to my mind. Dances were rousing. But Mr. Wayne looked at me like I was a fool and said, "At the conservatory?" I thought about how to get out of it, but surprisingly, Bruce helped me. He said that the conductor had been so emotional that he had been dancing at the music stand. I looked at Bruce with gratitude. He had just saved me. Mr. Wayne said I wasn't much of a conversationalist, but Bruce told him I was a great golfer. Mr. Wayne was very happy and offered to play. I had never held a golf club in my life. Terrified, I trudged to the field. Bruce gave me a case of clubs, and I took the first one I could find. I closed my eyes, swung with all my strength, and heard a terrible scream. Heck! I think I broke Mr. Wayne's nose. I immediately rushed to apologize, but he roughly pushed me away and headed for the house. I wanted to cry out of desperation. I'd ruined everything. Now Mr. Wayne would never let Claire marry his son. I was thinking about what to say to Claire when Bruce came up to me. I waited for his anger, but he just laughed. Cool hit, by the way. I couldn't help but smile too. Wow. And Bruce was not such a bore. Then the butler called us to supper. Mr. Wayne was silent at the table, apparently still angry with me. Of course, I understand him. Trying to make conversation, I complimented one of the dishes. In response, Mr. Wayne arrogantly asked if I could cook the same way. I confusedly admitted that I didn't know how to cook. Bruce's father said disgustedly that a woman's place was in the kitchen and told me to wash at least the dishes. He pointed to the plates. Well, you know, this is too much. In my anger, I shouted at Wayne that he was a tyrant and a misogynist. Wayne turned purple with anger and told me to get out. Oh my god, what have I done? What's going to happen to Claire now? I ran out of the mansion in tears. Bruce caught up with me at the gate. He said dryly that he had to go. I tried to apologize, but Bruce cut me off. We hit the highway, and then Bruce took a sharp turn into the woods. It was already dark and I was filled with fear. Was he going to kill me there? I tried to ask Bruce where we were going, but he didn't say anything. Suddenly, we stopped. My heart was pounding. Cautiously, I opened the door and got out of the car. And suddenly a fantastic view of the city opened in front of me. How beautiful. Then Bruce said there was no better place to... He paused. To what? Bruce got down on one knee and took the ring out of his pocket. He said I was the bravest girl he'd ever met. His father had no authority for a long time. He was always not happy with everything. So even if his father didn't approve of our wedding, Bruce still wanted to marry me. I was a wonderful, honest girl. What? I had never been told such words. So I did it. My sister Claire would soon recover, and my parents would still have their home. Yes, of course, I agree. And then Bruce kissed me. What? I didn't expect this and at first even tried to dodge. But then I relaxed and gave myself to feelings. I wanted the kiss to last forever. We watched the sunset for a while longer and then returned to the city. I didn't want to go home at all, so we went for a walk along the old streets. Bruce told me interesting things about houses. He knew a lot about architecture. I liked Bruce more and more. I had no idea that he could be so interesting. Bruce drove me home in the early morning. We kissed again, and elated, I ran into the house and bumped into Claire. She was getting better, and she had already been discharged. Damn, I'd forgotten about my sister. Well, so now, am I the bride? She asked sharply. I remembered my kiss with Bruce and blushed. Unable to answer, then Claire noticed the ring. Diamonds! She exclaimed happily and unceremoniously pulled a ring off my finger. Claire said with a grin that she was pleased with me. For once, I didn't screw up, but then she would do it on her own. The next week, Claire was busy preparing for the wedding. She was in such a hurry to get married that the wedding celebration was decided to be held in a month. I kept thinking about Bruce. On the one hand, I felt guilty for deceiving him. On the other hand, I couldn't believe I'd been so happy with him that night. Just when I thought I was beginning to forget, Claire brought him to meet our parents. I was terrified. I had to stay in my room all evening. Even though Bruce knew about a twin sister, Claire told me to steer clear. But even in my room, I could hear Claire bossing Bruce. I put on my headphones so I wouldn't have to hear it all, and then the door opened and Bruce came in. He paused in the doorway. Confused. God, did he recognize me? But Bruce explained that he was looking for a bathroom. He was about to leave when he suddenly paused. For a second, I thought Bruce recognized me and he was going to give me a big hug. Of course, dream on. But instead, Bruce said that he was happy to meet me and hoped to see me at the wedding. I was in a lot of pain, but I agreed, fighting back tears. It was time to understand that Bruce did not love me, but my sister. On the eve of the ceremony, Claire persuaded me to go to the bachelorette party, but because of cocktails, she was free and easy. She called Bruce a rich kid and promised her friends a cool car at his expense. I felt sick and angry. Bruce didn't deserve to be treated like this. He was a great guy, not a bag of money. I took out my phone. He had to know the truth. But Claire snatched the phone out of my hands, shouting that I probably really wanted our parents to lose our house. And then she clutched at her heart. Stop faking it, Claire. I'm not buying it. I was already dialing the number, but Claire suddenly turned pale and fell to the floor. Oh my god, she was really feeling bad. I called an ambulance and we rushed to the hospital. The doctors were examining Claire and I kept walking up down the hall. And then the doctor came out. Finally, he was worried. He said that because of the frequent attacks, Claire's heart was very worn out and she needed an expensive operation or the next time the heart valve might fall. Oh my god. I ran to the ward. With the last of her strength, Claire called me over, calling me her favorite sister for the first time. She begged me to replace her at the wedding. I was so torn between my pain for my sister and my feelings for Bruce. Emotions overwhelmed me, so without answering, I ran out of the room. And here I was, standing at the altar in a gorgeous wedding dress. Bruce was there, so beautiful, so desirable, and now so inaccessible. A few more minutes, and he would be Claire's husband. I'd rather give her my heart if I could. Can I save my sister only at the cost of a lie? The priest started talking about true love, and I realized I couldn't fool Bruce like that. Stop! I shouted. The priest froze in disbelief, and the guests began to exchange glances. I threw up my veil and told Bruce everything, that Claire was in the hospital and I was Jane, her sister. And then at the meeting with his father, it wasn't Claire either, but me. I paused, unable to say a single word. I thought that Bruce would be furious, but suddenly he kissed me. I didn't understand what was going on. Bruce. Then he leaned over and whispered to me that he had noticed the change in Claire since the day I met his father. But he liked this Claire. Brave and strong, much more. And then he said out loud that it was with me that he wanted to be. I felt like I stopped breathing. Bruce nodded to the priest, who continued the ceremony, asking if I would take Bruce as my husband. I froze for a second, then said no. The whole room gasped, and Bruce was stunned. I told him honestly about Claire's operation and her parents' deaths. I didn't want Bruce to think I was using him for money. I could handle it all by myself and save the family. Tears welled up in my eyes, and I tried to leave, but Bruce grabbed my arm. He said that he would definitely help me, and deaths were not a reason to cancel the wedding. After all, he really loved me. I couldn't believe it. Absolutely happy, I kissed Bruce. Looking at us, the priest smiled. I think we can continue the ceremony. And I suddenly realized, the main thing is to follow your heart. It will always tell you the right way. We exchanged rings and started kissing. Did you like the video? Then subscribe and like it. Support the channel. Thank you. I stood in the church and couldn't believe this was happening to me. I was marrying a dwarf. Calm down. You need to be patient a little. I get the lead role and I get divorced right away, and it's good for the dwarf. His name is Nick. He is a famous director, but no one gave him money for a new project. Then, his rich mother offered to pay for the shooting, but only if the son gets married. Just recently, I graduated from the Theater Institute and immediately waited for the main roles, but they only called me as an extra. And when the dwarf offered me a deal, a movie role in exchange for a fake wedding, I immediately agreed. As soon as the ceremony was over, I saw a missed call from Dylan, my real boyfriend. We met on the set, and it was love at first sight. God, I don't want Dylan to know what I'm up to. He's a real nutcase. I lied to the guests that I needed to get some air and went outside. Just as I was about to call, someone called out to me. I almost dropped my phone in fright, but when I turned around, I saw the dwarf. Nick thanked me for my help, and then we heard a click of heels. Nick's mother, Helen, came up to us. Hell, what if she heard us and realized that the marriage was a sham? But my mother-in-law smiled and said that we were a very beautiful couple. I immediately sat down and hugged Nick. Yes, we are perfect for each other. My mother-in-law nodded approvingly and asked what we were planning for our honeymoon. Nick and I looked at each other blankly. Immediately, she offered not to go anywhere and spend it in their luxurious mansion. Real family life, isn't it great? I was really scared. What mansion? I have a shoot. And if his mother suspects a trick? Nick looked flustered and gave his mom a confused thank you. There was no choice. I also played along. Right after the wedding, we went to the mansion. I hope it won't last long, but when I saw the house, I gasped. His mother clearly had money. She led us to our bedroom. After all, a husband and wife should live together. To sleep next to a dwarf? I was furious, but there was no choice. We needed this money for the movie. After a while, my mother-in-law called us into the kitchen and said that we would cook dinner together, like a real family. But I couldn't stand cooking. It was easier to order sushi. I whispered this to Nick, to which he replied that he was also a complete zero in cooking. Love is known in the kitchen. The mother-in-law joked viciously. While I was chopping onions and crying, Nick was trying to lighten the mood. And he started chuckling carrots. What a weirdo. I even thought it was funny. Suddenly, my phone vibrated. The screen flashed, "Sweetheart." I almost had a heart attack. What if his mother sees? I grabbed the phone, nearly knocking over the frying pan. I promised Dylan I'd meet him today. Come on, you're an actress. I slapped my forehead and said I needed to go to an important casting call. His mother gave me a suspicious look, but I had already called a taxi. Dylan was already waiting for me at the restaurant. When I arrived, he asked Hartley why I wasn't wearing a dress. After all, he liked my figure. I kissed my beloved and apologized. There was no time to choose an outfit. Dylan frowned, but then he took my hand. And he said he wanted to move in with me. Oh, I've been waiting for this for so long. But now I almost howled in frustration. Dylan didn't know I'd move in with the dwarf for a month. I had to lie that I was now living with my sick aunt who needed to be taken care of. Dylan didn't say anything and only asked me to pay when the bill arrived. He forgot his wallet. Could happen to anyone. He offered to drop me off. I felt guilty for not agreeing to move in. So I nodded. He would take me to the mansion and then I would figure something out. When we arrived, I asked him to slow down. My aunt needed to rest. We shouldn't wake her up. We said our goodbyes in a hurry, and I dashed into the house. If only no one would see. In the dark, I couldn't get the key into the lock. Finally, I did it. I was almost to the bedroom when the lights came on. My mother-in-law was standing in front of me in a nightgown. She stared at me reproachfully. "Where have you been for so long?" I blurted out the first thing that came to my mind. I was just going for a run. A wife should keep herself in shape. My mother-in-law narrowed her eyes. In that case, she would be happy to keep me company. What? She quickly changed her clothes and we ran. I was hoping she'd just run out of steam. But no, my mother-in-law passed me and I was barely able to walk. After our run, I was so exhausted that I barely made it to bed. Nick decided to sleep on the floor, for which I was grateful. But a couple of hours later, my mother-in-law knocked on the door. I jumped up and started waking Nick up. She can't see that we're sleeping apart. His mother was already turning the doorknob. There was nothing to do. I grabbed sleepy Nick and dragged him to the bed with all my strength. At that moment, Helen came into the room. My mother-in-law looked at us sharply and then suddenly announced that she had another surprise. Again? I was tired of her surprises. She handed over some certificates and said, "Family life is not only a routine, but also a joint experience. We're going to jump with a parachute." Nick yawned, and I broke out in a sweat. I was scared to death of heights. But Nick whispered, "We don't spend much time together. Your mother-in-law will suspect something. You can't refuse." We gathered and waited for his mother, but after a couple of minutes, she came out and said that her plans had changed. We would have to go ourselves. Was she kidding us? Nick noticed that I was worried, and he tried to lighten the mood all the way. Okay, maybe it was not so scary, but when I saw the helicopter where we were supposed to jump from, I found it hard to breathe. I don't want to go there. Suddenly, Nick put his arm around me and gently asked me what was going on, and I admitted that I was very afraid of heights. But Nick said it was okay. Anyway, why would we do that if Mom was not here? But she said to spend time together. That's what we'll do, Nick said with a sly smile. We spent the rest of the day at the amusement park. Nick tried to cheer me up, bought me cotton candy, and joked about everything. Even about his small stature, to which I replied he had a huge soul. And then I stumbled. I used to be repelled by Nick's appearance, but today I never thought about it. It turned out that he was caring, kind, and had a lot to talk about. When we returned home, laughing, I even thought my mother-in-law smiled at the sight of us. In the evening, we chatted for a long time, and then Nick said that he was having fun with me, but he used to feel lonely. That's understandable. I'm a dwarf, he continued. But I protested. That's not the point. I also often feel sad, but everything is fine with my stature. And I wondered, why did I say that? I have a boyfriend, Dylan. Then I realized that I never had a heart-to-heart conversation with him like this. The thought terrified me. I said goodnight to Nick and turned back to the wall. The next day, Nick and I went grocery shopping on his mother's behalf. And when we got back, my jaw almost dropped. My mother-in-law was sitting with Dylan, drinking tea. What's happening? I didn't understand, but Dylan came up to me and put his arm around me and said he was very happy to meet my aunt. Then he kissed me on the cheek and added, "I wish you dwarf to find a girl like my beauty." This was a failure. I looked at my mother-in-law in horror. She told me to get out of there with my boyfriend. Nick was silent. Tears began to well up in my eyes. I was so close to crying, and Dylan still didn't know what had happened. In the street, he said that my family would calm down soon and we would be able to move, and we wouldn't even have to pay rent. While I was trying to collect my thoughts, he called us a taxi. We drove in silence, but on arrival, Dylan again asked me to pay. He said he forgot his wallet again. It was like a slap in my face. Wait, are you dating me just so I can pay for you everywhere? Dylan chuckled. Well, it certainly wasn't because of my personality. In tears, I shouted that we were breaking up. How could I ever love this jerk? I went back to my apartment and cried for a long time. Something snapped inside me. But I was awakened by the rumbling of my own stomach. I had to go to the store. Out of habit, I went to the department of semi-finished products, but suddenly stopped in front of the shelf with onions, remembering how we cooked with the whole family, albeit fake. God, did I miss them? But at home, I couldn't eat a morsel. Nick would definitely support me right now. The thought of him warmed my heart. Why did I think about him so often? Then my phone vibrated. It was Nick. I picked up the phone and was about to apologize when he excitedly informed me that my mother-in-law was in the hospital. I jumped. What happened? Nick muttered that she had a heart problem, that her last wish was to see me. There was no time to think, so I rushed to the hospital. My mother-in-law was unconscious and Nick was sitting by her bed, looking sad. He looked at me and said with a sad smile that he was sorry it had ended like this. We were a happy family, though not a real one, but he understood me. I had a boyfriend. Normal, not a dwarf. A lump rose in my throat. I'm sorry, it's all my fault. Nick, you know, if we could start over, it would be different. He was about to say something, But then my mother-in-law moved. We jumped in surprise, and she smiled and cheerfully got up from the bed. What's happening? His mother laughed. Since everyone was here, there was no need to stay in the hospital. We were going home. Nick and I looked at each other blankly. Then his mother admitted that she pretended to be ill in order to unite the family. You actors can pretend to be married, but I can't be an actress. She added that she was sure from the very beginning that Nick and I were made for each other. I looked at Nick, smiling, and everything fell into place. As we drove home, I felt happy for the first time in a long time. I had a family, a home, a real husband who really needed me. On the way, Nick received a text message and he suddenly broke into a smile. There were investors who were ready to finance his movie. His mother's money was no longer needed. He looked at me and asked if I would play the lead role in the movie. I was happy, but after thinking about it, I said that I would go to the casting like everyone else, and I winked if our family doesn't mind a working wife. But it wasn't the role that made me happy that night. I looked at Nick and saw him not as a scary dwarf, but as a loved one. It turned out that the looks can often be deceiving, but now I was definitely not fooled.